Draconic powers are simply awesome. The ability to fly, to essentially be clad in natural armor only the strongest enemies could ever hope to break open, the long lives, the great magical power, the ability to breathe fire, the claws, the teeth, the tail. Every single aspect of a dragon is awesome, in the most literal of senses. So naturally, aside from dragonborn and people with dragon blood flowing through their vein, normal everyday people in a medieval fantasy world would not only be living and growing up with tales and perhaps experience of dragons of their very own, but naturally, at least a portion of society would be utterly fascinated by them and crave the power of various dragons for various reasons. The first of them is to be better at winning any martial conflict. If all your tribe and the tribe of the other side has are clubs, slings and spears, seeing how a dragon breathes fire would naturally awaken the desire to roast your very own enemies in the same manner. Seeing how a dragon's scale would simply deflect arrows and stone projectiles, and how the dragon's legs are invulnerable to things like pitfalls with sharpened wooden spears in them, would also naturally arouse the desire to be as invulnerable as the dragons. So in a realistic medieval fantasy world, or rather a Stone Age world with dragons, they would serve as something to aspire to. They would not just be there and never interact with humans until humanity became a more medieval society, but from the very moment one tribe smacks another tribe with a bunch of clubs over the head, the dragon's power would shape the development of our own civilization. The dragon's scale, for example, would inspire armor, or at least some shields. Seeing a way to deflect damage, humans would also seek a way to have this power for their very own, or at least replicate the effects of being clad head to toe in natural armor in some sort of fashion. So things like armor, like shields, would be developed way earlier. A dragon's mighty roar could also be imitated by horns, or be paid tribute to in some forms of music, and perhaps this, in combination with the dragon's much coveted ability to breathe fire, could also lead to the discovery of magic, for humanity would grow up with magical beasts as a natural part of their environment, and would see the benefits of being able to breathe fire, of roasting bears and wolves, and more human opponents. So over time, a shaman's chant, a shaman's effort to imitate a dragon's roar, could not only lead to the discovery of magical spells, but the very roar of a dragon would shape our own language to some degree. As long as dragons are present, nearly every single civilization should have some words in them that, no matter on which continent or strip of land they are located, it simply reflects a dragon's roar, its dragon's every sound, perhaps the flap of the wing, or the dragon walking to a forest, or another strip of land. And just like fire shaped our own primitive way of living many thousands of years ago, fire spells would illuminate our own fantasy civilization in no small parts, thanks to the dragon. Knights, as in heavily armored warriors, would be at least on an optical level much more similar to dragons, their heraldry much closer to dragons. Perhaps the first armor would be indeed just stone scales, imbued with spells to make them lighter, as to enable humans to actually wear a thick stone armor. There are many possibilities how dragons could inspire this advance of magic and technology. And of course, spells like levitate or fly could be discovered by trying to imitate a dragon's flight. And perhaps humanity would discover things like hot air balloons or zeppelins way earlier in this version of our own history, because they desperately sought a way to fly like a dragon, or at least have some other ability to fly that will work for humanity. since even with magic being just a normal part of this world, I would imagine that sustaining flight would be very straining, even for experienced casters with great mana reserves and power, and still unobtainable otherwise for people with more meager mana reserves, and those who specialize in other ways of magical expertise or just everyday crafts, like baker. Another way dragon's mere existence would shape human society and magic is via transformative spells. Essentially things like the polymorph spell would be something that society at large will have searched for millennia. Also in the name of simply transforming man into dragon. And even if this is still not possible, things like partial dragon transformation, like transforming one's head into that of a dragon, or summoning or imitating parts of the dragon, like wings or fire-breathing heads, might be something that mankind still was able to invent and create, all in the name of elevating man to the level of a dragon. Naturally, dragons would also sooner or later notice that these strange hairless monkeys have some sort of fascination for them, that they aspire to the form and power of dragons, and if humans and dragons are intelligent, which in most settings both tend to be, then perhaps dragons would naturally advise and aid humanity in exchange for food, worship, gold, gemstones, or magical knowledge, for humanity might stumble over something truly incredible of their very own, via their own research, into essentially becoming the scaled equivalent of a furry. So perhaps in an ironic twist, we could teach dragons the polymorph spell that would enable dragons to become human, while the other route, humans transforming into dragons, might not be possible because humans lack mana or magical might, or something else to sustain a draconic form even for a brief period of time. But still, dragon blood would then freely flow through society. Now, of course, if everybody has dragon blood, if everyone has special fire powers, if everyone can fly, or spawn some draconic wings from their back from time to time via magical spells, these abilities would not be seen as special anymore, but humanity would have elevated itself onto the next level of existence, onto a higher plane, so to speak. And even if no intermingling between dragons and humans is possible, if the dragon is perhaps just irritated what these scaleless two-legged things do in their spare time, the mere existence of dragons would inspire humanity and give us something to aspire to. And with that said, now it's your turn. What are your thoughts about how humanity might try to imitate and become dragon themselves? What impact dragons would have on our own culture and society? And how would our own civilizations have developed? Let me know it down in the comment section. And while you type, I say thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.